click the start streaming button, and if the settings are all correct, the streaming should start right now. Whoever is watching the stream, just let us know if all goes correctly. Okay, and if we are on live, I think we are live. I think we are live.
Yes, we are live.
Nice, awesome. Then
Okay, so we start.
Miss Meeta and Sneha,
Yeah.
you guys can introduce Salman, and then we will
Okay.
just start the session.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I, Sneha Matre, on behalf of Computer Engineering Department of Vidyavardhini College of Engineering and Technology, welcome you all on HDP on Bootcamp of Competitive Coding. Today, the session is on the data structure. So we'll see the topics on array, lists, tree, graph, hash, map, etc. Now, I would like to introduce our guest speaker, Mr. Salman Chishti. He is a Microsoft intern as well as Microsoft student partner and .NET Foundation member. He has done many projects in his academics like on artificial intelligence, robotics, data science, etc. He is currently doing his bachelorate degree in computer science and artificial intelligence from University of Nottingham. He has done BSc in computer science from University of the West London. He also has a volunteer experience in Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Steam Ambassador, etc. He has done 13 Microsoft certification in different domains. Now, I would like to welcome Mr. Salman Kishti and take the charge of this session. Welcome, sir.
Well, thank you so much, ma'am. That's really kind of you for such kind words. Um, wow. Yeah, so today is going to be a cool presentation and it's going to be on a mix of things. So we're going to have data structures and we're just going to get you introduced to how, you can get familiar with those because everyone needs to know these things nowadays. When it comes to coding technical interviews, we can all hope that is not going to be, you know, we can hope that they're not going to ask these questions, but in reality, these things will help, not just in technical interviews, but when you create programs yourself, because you're going to be able to know which data structures to use in a fast pace. So I'm going to share my screen and let me know if you can see it, and we'll be good to go. Let's get this here. It should be loading now. Can you see it?
Yes, it is there.
Okay, cool. So our presentation today is going to be on data structures and, which ones you're going to be using. So, you've got to build these. So you're going to build in, you build these, but, you've got built in data structures, which we're just going to cover in today's presentation. These data structures, I'm not actually going to show you a presentation. It's going to be kind of boring. So I'm going to show you, let's go into actual code. So I've got my code editor. Let me go ahead and open that on this screen. Let's go ahead, and I'm using Visual Studio Code. So we've got a few different data structures. I'm assuming most of you are familiar with Python. So we can go ahead and we'll create a new file. I'll zoom in for all of you. Let's go ahead and do that here. Okay, so within Python, we've got our code editor. I'm just going to change my language mode to Python. And I'm going to say, okay, what data structures should we start with? So we have all these, data structures such as, we've got lists, we've got tuples, we've got, you've got dictionaries, you've got all these different things, but you need to know when you should use them. For example, okay, let's go ahead. We'll start off with a simple one. We'll start off with lists. Okay, so a list, like what comes to your mind when you think of a list? You think of, okay, shopping lists, you think of I need to have just anything. Okay, in a language like Python, you don't actually have to define which type you use in your lists. In, say, C#, you would have to say, hey, I want a list of integers, I want a list of strings. In Python, you don't need to do that. In fact, you can have you know, a list of a mix of things. So if you think about an array list in a subject like in a language such as C Sharp, oh, my background changed. If you think of like the array list in C Sharp, you would say, hey, I can add a number, I can add an integer, I can also add a string, I could add like an array to that array list. In Python, you don't have to do that. You can do a simple like, I'm going to say my list is going to be equal to an empty list like that. That's all you have to do to define your list. Now also, we will get onto tuples a bit later, but tuples are fairly similar to lists in the fact that, okay, one's immutable and one's not mutable. So I'll get onto that in a bit. But here's our list, and it's empty at the beginning. We're just initializing our list, and we can go ahead. We can like say, I'm just gonna expand my list. So I'm gonna say, my list is gonna say my list is. Or we'll say we're gonna have like 1, 2, or 1, 3, 6, 8. Okay, so right now we have a list, and it has these numbers in it. I can go ahead and say, okay, let's print my list, and I can go ahead. Let's run my program. Okay, what's this? This thing came up. Okay, here you go. We've got our output here. So we have 1, 3, 6, 8 down here. And we can say, okay, this is what my list is. If I want to add something to my list, then realize that there's a difference between tuples and lists. Okay, when you want to change your list, when you want to make it so that, hey, I want to consume as little memory as possible, then okay, tuples technically consume less memory compared to lists, but then lists are mutable. So it's a trade-off.
Salman,
Would you want to think?
People are commenting on the stream that the text is very small.
Okay, I'll change my
Just
resolution.
zoom in. Just zoom in. Yes.
That should be better. Okay, so we got all these lists. Is that clear enough?
I think it is very much better.
Okay, cool. So you have what we've done so far. We've just created an empty list, and we've just assigned values into our list, and we've printed our list. There's differences between when you should use a tuple and a list. Like lists are mutable, tuples are immutable. Like lists themselves, iteration actually, they take time. Comparing it to a tuple. A tuple you can iterate very fast compared to a list. The list you can perform easy, like it's better if you're doing operations such as insertion and deletion because it's mutable. Okay, just because a tuple is immutable doesn't mean you can't go ahead and start adding values and deleting it. But there's the trade-offs of okay, lists consume more memory, tuples consume less memory. There's built-in methods, but tuples have less, I think, for that. Things like that. There's some considerations which in your coding interviews, say if someone's like, hey, what's your time complexity? These things might not necessarily make much be that relevant, but you can comment on them. You can say, okay, well, I chose a list for this reason. Or if you can tell the interviewer, hey, the reason I used a tuple was because, okay, it's the iterations are faster than using a list. That's something that not everyone might consider. So little things in there are pretty cool. We can do things like do some code. Let's do my list. I'm gonna add something to my list. I'm gonna say let's do 3. So remember, lists, they're mutable. So this is not gonna be as bad on because it's mutable. So that means I can add. It's better for performing insertion and deletions. Okay, so I'm gonna append 3. So if I now go ahead, I'm gonna print my list. It will be like this. Let's see. Okay, down here we have 1, 3, 6, 8, 3. So that's cool. We got our list here, but what else can we do? It's literally just a list. You can do iterations for I in my list. I can go print I. And then I'm printing every value from my list. There's different operations. So when I mentioned you have several built-in methods for lists. You've got more of those compared to in a tuple. So you can say, hey, I'm gonna do let's do print. Okay, when you want to sort a list, technically in an interview you wouldn't use these, but like it's handy to know these things. So if I want to sort a list, I can go like, hey, sorted, and I want to like sort this list. So I have 1, 3, 6, 8 at the moment. This is sorted already. So let's put like 2, 3, 8, 9 at the top. So this is now unsorted. So if I want to now sort this, I can print this, and we'll say, okay, now we've got it unsorted. I mean sorted. But the thing is, when you have sorted, this just returns the sorted list back to you. It doesn't reassign it to what my list was. So if I now go ahead and I print my list, this is gonna say, okay, my list is still going to be what it originally was. So that's very handy in the sense where, okay, I just want to return it as a function, but I don't want to affect my original list, right? What if you do want to do that? So you can do that as well. Okay, you can go like, okay, my list dot sort, and I can do reverse equals, true or false. So I'm gonna actually say it's false, and I'll print that. Okay, so I've now sorted it, but I haven't printed it. So that's let's do that. So my list, and as you can see, okay, I've sorted now my list, and this is assigned it. So the difference here is you've got sorted, which returns your list, but it doesn't assign it to your original variable. But then here, you're actually modifying your actual list. So that's lists. Lists are pretty cool. Let's see. We could do. Let's do dictionary. So dictionaries. Hopefully that makes sense. I'm not looking at the chat, so if there are any questions, feel free to ask me. So we can do a dictionary.
In the chat, there are not many questions right now. They are just enjoying the session which you are giving.
Cool, thank you for that. So moving on, we've got a dictionary. So I can say, okay, my dictionary, if I can spell. So my dictionary, and to define a dictionary, what you can do is you can go ahead and do like these curly braces. So some of you might know what a default dictionary is in Python. I love default dictionaries, but we'll start off with the dictionary itself. So a dictionary is basically what you think of when you actually have a real life dictionary. You have, definitions of words. So say if I want to know what potato means, I can go in a dictionary and I can search, okay, what's a potato? And it's going to be like some, is it a root vegetable? Something like that. It will tell me the definition. So you essentially have key value pairs, and that's what a dictionary is. So if I could go, okay, hey, let's say first. I'm going to say first. It's going to make it a lot easier to understand. So I'll do first. It's going to be 1. I'm going to say, okay, let's do second. Let me set my language type. Oops, let me not have that. Language type is Python. So I get color coding. So I'm going to say second is equal to 2, and I'm going to say, okay, third is equal to 3, okay? So, I mean, we haven't done anything, we just literally have a list, dictionary, and what can we do? We can go ahead, we'll print this like dictionary, and okay, so here we have our dictionary, nothing special, this is cool. What do we want to do? Okay, we can say, let's get something, let's get the second item from a list. We will like, let's remove the second item from a list and assign that to a variable. Let's go, okay, let's do like my dictionary. We'll do like my dictionary.pop. So you can either pop, items, you can, there's different inbuilt things. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna pop whatever's that second. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'll do that, and then let me change this to another variable. I'm going to say, hey, let's print what's in extract now. So, okay, we've got whatever the value of the key is when you have second. So that's cool. Like this is really nice in the sense, say, if I want to have an iteration over, hey, there's an individual list, and I want to iterate over that list. Say from the first example, I have a list and it has these numbers, and I want to check if there's a duplicate number. What I can do, I can iterate. I can do that whole, where I have here. If I have for iron list, I can say, okay, for iron list, add that that variable to a dictionary and increment the value of the key. Okay, so we can say let's have a list of, let's do a new list here of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 2, 1. Okay, and then for I in my list, I'm gonna say let's create a new dictionary, and we'll do like dictionary. We'll just call it dictionary for now. I can say, okay, if like I in dictionary, like you can see what I'm getting at. If I say, okay, if I is in dictionary, what I can do is I can initialize that to be a variable. So I can say, okay, so dictionary of, let's say, first would be like assigned to a value. Okay, and then you would do this whole loop thing, and I would say, okay, when I get to 1, I would say, okay, I will initialize it to 0. Then when I do 2, I'll initialize that. Sorry, when I initialize 1, I'll initialize the value to be 1. Then when I do 2, I'll initialize the value to be 1. When I do 3, etc. And then when I see 2 again, I would find, okay, I've already had this in my dictionary. What I'm going to do is I'm going to increment it. So that's the long thing about that. You have to do this check of, okay, if it's in the dictionary. So the way I prefer to do this is actually not by using a dictionary. It's by using what's called a default dictionary. Okay, so that actually involves like using what's called we use collection for the collections. So we do from collection. Let me spell right. Collections import default dict. Okay, so default dict is.
Now we are going to the testy stuff. Default dict.
I love default dict. So I'm just gonna create a default dict with using the type integer. Normally, okay, in Python you don't normally have to assign types. So like the different types in Python, you have strings, you have ints, you have floats, you have complex, you have tuples, you have ranges, you have dicts, you have sets, you have frozen sets, you have bools, bytes, byte array, memory view. Okay, so you have all of these types, but like you don't have to actually say specifically, but when you're using a default dict, you put in, okay, I'm going to use a default dict of string, I'm going to do a default dict of int. So that's one thing you need to take note of. But the nice thing is now, whenever I want to do this, I can do, okay, let's do d. So for I in like my list, okay, I can go like d of I is plus equal 1. Okay, when it was here, when I had my let's say, let's do d1 equals like this. So for I in d1, you would have to do, okay, if I in d1, like if I in d1, then you can do this. So we'll do d of
Okay.
I plus equal 1.
So now, Salman, they are still saying that it is a little smaller. So if you can increase the text size,
Yeah.
font size, what do you say?
Is that better?
Okay. So this should be much more better for this time. Yes, I think this looks fine on the live stream. And
Yeah.
a guy named Pratish has a question. What is the main difference between a tuple and a dictionary? And if you can explain what each of them is.
A tuple and a dictionary? Or
Yes.
do you mean a tuple and a list? A tuple?
No, the question is tuple and a dictionary. So dictionary is like key value pair, and tuple is just a list, which is an immutable, I think. If you can say that to them, it will be much clearer.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So like, so the comparison, normally you have a tuple and a list. A tuple is similar to a list, but they're immutable. Okay, but if you want to have faster iterations, then you would use a tuple. It's useful for when you want to access elements. and it consumes less memory. A dictionary is for key value pairs. So essentially, this I can copy and paste this, and I can go like, this is the comparison which I'm trying to make, right? A tuple can literally be like, this is how you define a tuple. You just have brackets. So like for a tuple, I can like now, do the same thing I can do for I in my tuple. I can do like, print I. It's similar, but it's like there's small differences. So like, yeah, lists are immutable. You've got like, less functions using like tuples compared to using lists. You can do the same thing. So I can go like, okay, my tuple. You can also have the same thing where okay, I have a 1, 2. I'm gonna do this. Like technically is immutable, but you can still do this and stuff. You can go like, I can do like Hindi and English or something. Like you can add various types and stuff. So I can still index my my tuple like this, and I can go like, I can print this. So it's like that's the comparison you want to like make. Is that okay? Oh, I haven't finished this code here. Default date. Okay, let me just comment this out. I didn't finish all my code. Where am I getting default decks from? Let me just get rid of these. We don't need any of. Okay, let's run that. Okay, so look, you can still index things nicely and everything, like tuples. Lists are fairly similar. Here, this is what to make it clearer, let me just run that line. So here, let me comment this out as well. So many things which I have going on. Okay, here, look, it's printing out Hindi because I've like indexed 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so this is my array, well, my list inside of my tuple. And then what I've done is I've indexed the 0th element. Okay, so I've got a list inside a tuple. You can use it like this. It's just like they're fairly similar. Like in terms of like practicality, they would do similar things. It's just that there's that inherent
So
difference.
if a list is inside a tuple, can you change the content of that list?
So when I say immutable, okay, it's like the
Okay.
same thing within C#. You can assign values to that new
Yes.
string. So I can go ahead,
Yes.
like over here, if I print out my tuple, okay, and I see over here, okay, I printed this, but then later on, let me comment this out. Let me do, okay, print my tuple. Like you can change it. You can completely change it. All we're doing is saying that, okay, it's immutable in the memory. What's going on is you're creating a new tuple and you're assigning it to this variable, and you're not modifying it. Okay, so that's where in C# you have like a string builder. You would modify things. If any of you are familiar with that, you would be using a string builder because that's a mutable type. Lists consume more memory, so then just because tuples are immutable doesn't mean they're all bad, because iterate faster on it, consume less memory, but it's but you have less inbuilt methods and stuff like that. So yeah, I think we can go back to
So, what you are saying is like when you define the tuple first time, it is assigning some value to it. And when you are assigning second time, it is removing all the content that it had previously and then assigning some other content. Yes?
so
I think
you're not removing it, you're just creating a new tuple as opposed to just
N.
modifying it.
Oh, I think that makes things very clearer. Also, Mohit is asking, can we split the list without using NumPy or for loop? I think you can do it just by using slicing, right?
Yeah, you can do like the whole, this thing here when you're doing slicing. You can like use colons and all that things. If you want to go ahead, you can like do like reversing and stuff. Like
Yes.
similar things should work. I tend not to really use
If
tuples.
you
Oh, I keep commenting. Let me just comment this stuff out again.
Yes.
So you can do that whole thing where you're reversing it. Now you might be confused. Why is Hindi English not reversed? Because this is a list inside. So if I want to,
Yes.
I can reverse that as
You would
well.
have to go inside the list and then
Yeah, and
reverse
then
this
reverse it. So let me make it a
separately.
bit clearer like
Yeah.
this. Okay, so 5, 3, 2, 1 is what we've reversed. So yeah, you can still do that slicing thing. You don't need to use like NumPy and all these things. Like if you want to inverse a matrix, you don't need to use all these things. But like it helps. All these libraries do help. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yes.
So
Questions are answered in the chat.
cool. Let me see in the. Need to do default dicts, but essentially that's the thing with default dicts. You don't have to initialize an entry into a dictionary. You can just by the default dict by default will initialize for you whenever you try to assign a new value into that. So yeah, that's cool. Yeah, the tuples. So like tuples, like in my list again, like you could do like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and like you can go in. Well, let me call this tuple. I'm trying to like keep the same convention. So my tuple, change the language mode to Python. Let's run this now. So okay, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down there. So essentially, let me clear this. Okay, so it's essentially similar to a list. You can treat it basically the same. Not many people might realize that they're using a tuple. Sometimes they're using lists. So like it's pretty much the same. Like I can print my tuple of like index of 3 and then like stuff like that. It's pretty straightforward. If I want to reverse it, I can go ahead. I can go like, hey, let's reverse it using slicing. This is Python slicing. So if you're not sure what you're doing here, then you can do like cool things like so like no need to worry about that. So slicing is cool. I look up that, but I won't cover that today. There's some same things, I guess you could do, the index of values. So I can go like print my tuple of index of, let's say 3. The index of 3, 0, 1, 3. So 0, 1, 2, 3 is at index 2. Okay. You can go ahead and try this out. All these things, you get familiar with which ones are better for different situations. And this is like saying, okay, if I want to reverse a linked list, which one should I use? But you wouldn't actually use any of these data types reversing a linked list. You would just assign variables. But what I'm trying to say is, if you're given a problem, you know which type of data structures you should use. Say if I want to check how many occurrences my name comes up in a piece of text, I can go ahead. For word in piece of text, use a default dictionary. Add 1 to each word. Okay, or add 1 for every time Salman appears. Okay. So it's like knowing these things, like knowing how to do that very fast is basically what you get used to. You've got like other things as well, so we can talk about sets. So sets are cool. So if you do set theory, if you do automata, if you do any of that thing, so we like finite state machines. So it gets into that. So like none of that is pointless. So I can have a set of like apple. I can have a set of potato, or I mean inside my set I can have these variables. I can go like a lemon. Okay, so I've got a set. Like let me do language to Python again. Let's say, by the way, I'm using Code Runner, the extension, to be able to run my code down here. And if I want to change my language mode, I'm just doing Control KM. So yeah, so I printed my set. Let me clear the console again. Let me run. Oh, hello. I mean, not have hello. There you go. Lemon, potato, apple. So that's my set. If I wanna, add something to my set, this set. So add like apple again, and then let's just print this. No, it doesn't add apple because what exactly is a set? You can only have one of each thing in a set. If you look at like the definition of a set, I might be slightly wrong, but just thinking about a set, you have a function and you have one output. Okay, each you can't have like two. You can't have two inputs which produce the same, or like multiple. Yeah, you can't have two inputs which produce the multiple outputs, I think. And it's like that defines like the function and all of this stuff. So you can have like sets as well. So like this set equals like cherry, apple, and like you can do operations with your sets and all these cool things. So I guess like you can try that. Is this set 2? New set is this set 2, and let's do print this set new set. So just how you can do like operations sets and in maths and all this discrete mathematics. I've just done the the subtraction of two sets. So I've done this set, so I have apple, potato, and lemon. I've done, okay, let's just minus whatever in set 2. Okay, so I've minus, okay, let's look, we've got lemon and potato. I've minus apple from there. So apple is in this, unique in these, it's common to both sets, and I've removed that. This is getting into maths, I'm not going to explain it, but yeah, that's a set. Those are the built-in data structures you have in Python. You have, different ways you can use these, iterating over them. You can, in dictionaries, so I can go a bit more into dictionaries. I guess I didn't finish dictionaries, so let's do that since we've got about 8 minutes left until I guess we can start the Kahoot. We can say, okay, we've printed, is this even dictionaries? Okay, yeah, let me remove all this. So let's go back to here. So we've got our dictionary. I've popped second, and I'll put that in extract. So there, whatever's that second is our value of 2. Okay, like we can do like, okay, let's print whatever, like my dictionary. I want all the keys in our dictionary. So you have your key and values. So say for potato, root vegetable, whatever it is. Okay, so I want to print all of the whatever keys we have. So we have first and third. I've already popped second from my dictionary. So we have that. Let's say I just want the values. My dictionary dot values can go ahead. We'll print all the values. So I've got 1 and 3. You can do other things. Like if I just want every single thing, I can go ahead. I can do my dictionary dot items. There's my item. So it's got the key and values. It's similar to doing, I guess, printing the actual dictionary. But you've got it like this. Okay, so now like the reason you want it like this, like it might look like, hey, this looks better, but okay, when you actually use this, you can do like, okay, for like key value in items, like key value in my dictionary the items. Okay, so then you can iterate this, and you can say, okay, print, hey, the like value is key, and then like value. I don't know what I'm writing, but like you can like split it up like this. So it's a nice way to, yeah, I haven't been doing much Python in a while. Is that how you do concatenation? Yeah. Valid syntax. Hey, the key value pair.
Salman, you can use the format function if you remember that.
The format is a print. I get so confused with syntax. I keep going between languages. Is how do I do the? Or do I just do the thing where it's like, okay, let me just. You get the idea, everyone. You know, you can do key or something, and then I don't know. You do all these things where it's like, hey, you can access key and value within these things. But like it's up to you how you want to do it. And things, but you can either do items, you can do keys. It's very, you know, like simple, straightforward to do. I guess I'll just do this. I you know, I really like doing things where I use data structures to, you know, solve problems in different ways. So once I solve a problem, say with a using bubble sort, I can go ahead, okay, I'll try merge sort, I'll try different ways of doing things. So yeah, it's fairly nice knowing how to switch between these things, and then as well knowing all this like theory behind it, knowing that okay, lists are mutable, tuples are immutable. All these things, they're very helpful, because at the end of the day, you want to make your programs more efficient. You want to make them, you know, have the most, you know, least amount of time wasted. And you then can say this in like interviews. You can say, okay, the reason I chose this was because of this. Okay, so I hope that all makes sense. Forgive my lack of Python syntax when printing. I am, you know, that's one of the things I tend to forget when switching between languages is how do you print? Because you've got like printf, you've got print, you've got console.writeline, you've got system.out.println, and they have all these different things. So yeah, I wish Python has like a string interpolation. That's my favorite. But yeah. So that's pretty much it for the actual presentation. What we actually have, I've prepared a Kahoot for all of you to join. So let me get that up. Let's start this game. Let's hopefully have my sound muted for this. Cool. Can everyone see the... Does everyone have access to a mobile device?
I think they will start. Pratish had a question in the chat. Is there a way to remember all these functions, or we will just understand them while using them?
Just like doing problems over and over again. Like don't feel like you have to memorize them. Do practice problems, and then like, you know, when you need them, like look them up, because that's the point of practice, right? You practice, and then eventually repetition space repetition, it gets ingrained in your memory. So like I can go like, hey, I know when to use dot count or like dot length, or if I want to do like I didn't say, like if I want to print the length of something, it's just length. So like you get used to these things, and over time they're just, you don't need to try to memorize them, just practice, and then over time you'll naturally get it. It's like when you talk to people in a new language, you eventually you learn how to speak it. That's a bad example, but yeah, don't feel like you have to memorize all of it at once. Just know that they are there, and when you need them, then go look for them. Because a bad thing to do, I think, is to just you limit yourself to what you currently know. Say if I didn't know about, hey, reversing like this, right? What I might do is I might think, hey, I have to use sorted, and I have to go ahead and I have to go like, hey, new list equals sorted my list. Instead, I could just do my list.sort. So like this is wasting space. This is wasting memory when I could just do this. So just know that these things exist, and then by knowing that, you can then go ahead and do like a Bing search, and you can be like, oh, how do I sort a list and and return it at the same time. So like, or things like that. So just know they exist, and then when you know, you can just go search it. At the end of the day, you will eventually, I think, learn it by memory. Like things like this, they're fairly straightforward. You just remember, okay, true, false. You switch them. Yeah, you don't need to have to memorize them, but they do help in interviews. Hope that answers the question.
Yes, I think it should be very good, explanation for the question. And uh, is there anything else that you would like to speak, or we will move on to the quiz section?
I don't think so. Are there any data structures that anyone has in chat that they would like me to cover? Or I guess those are the ones that come to mind when I think of those are the built-in ones, along with default dict, which isn't built in, but more like as in,
People always, in competitive programming, if you can explain them a little bit of, trees and how the hash maps work, and what is a graph and how you can work with it.
Yeah, so I was assuming this was going to be a basic data structures talk, so I didn't go into like all those things. But like hash maps, essentially like your dictionary, you treat it as a hash map, right? Yes, there's differences in like when it comes down to, say, in a different language, you can say a hash map has these certain characteristics compared to a dictionary. Like, for example, a thing like nullable, like you can't set it to null, I think, in C#, but you can for a dictionary. And then it's all these certain things. But yeah, these things get more advanced when we're talking about graphs and we're doing depth first search and breadth first search. Those, you can use arrays. You can use arrays within arrays, and then you can do a scan. You can do you could do a linear scan on like the first row. You could do different scans on all of these things. So yeah, you basically use the foundation of these things. So you would use like a list when doing all these operations. But yeah, doing an example on that would take a bit too much time at the moment right now. But I'm happy to help you more with that if you want to message me.
Okay, so I think we can arrange that sooner enough. And let's move on to the next thing that you have planned, and let's not waste everyone's time. Okay.
Cool. Okay, so we have a quiz. Let me get that up on the screen. Virtual classroom. Classic. Music is playing. Okay, so here's the Kahoot. What I want you all to do is navigate on any device you want. Make sure you can see the stream as well. You can go in a new tab and you type this pin. So I suggest if you're on a Windows device or Mac, Linux, you can go ahead. You can make this windowed, and you can have the YouTube screen on the side. You can use Windows snapping or something. Okay, or you could use power toys. But yeah, so go ahead, type the pin on your device. Go to Kahoot.it, and we'll start it in the next minute or so.
And there is a question in the chat is like, what is the main difference between an array and a list when you solve, uh, when you are solving competitive programming questions?
So okay, so arrays you need to declare in Python, but lists you don't. So lists are built into Python. Like arrays, you can store data very compactly. It's very efficient for storing large amounts of data. Arrays also, if you want to do like operations on numerics and stuff like that, they're really good for that. But lists, you can't directly handle maths operations. So there's like different notations for like lists and stuff like versus arrays. Yeah, so it's pretty similar, but there are slight differences.
Okay, and then there is another question. Uh, why should we use elif if there is else? Is there any? I think uh,
Why should you use a list versus
Python
array?
has a no. And the question is why should we use elif rather than else?
Oh, a list, like else if,
Yes.
rather than else if. They're the same things. It's just different ways of writing it. So different languages would put it differently. I would also like, for lists and arrays, it's like, like lists are very flexible. Like when it comes to data, like I was showing you, you can have these different things. So you can have like a list inside a list. You can have a string inside a list. You can have integers inside a list. You can have completely heterogeneous data and arbitrary data in your list. But arrays they're specific to that type. Okay. It's like when I was saying array list at the beginning, an array list in C# is synonymous essentially to a list in Python, whereas a list in C# is synonymous to like an array in Python, but then an array in C# doesn't, I guess, have a match to what you have in Python. So it gets a bit complex. If you do want to use arrays, you can use like NumPy or SciPy. Like it's really up to you.
I think array would make it a better way. As you can see, I don't know. And then can you do a brief introduction about how oops can be implemented in Python? That is a very daunting task, I think.
You mean object-oriented programming?
Yes.
Yeah. So you do like class, and then like you have self init, and self init is basically your constructor, and then like all your like methods inside you have you pass self in, stuff like that. Yeah, it's nice because if you're used to PowerShell, so PowerShell is very similar to Python, in that you can make it object oriented. It's like yeah.
If he's very, you know, pushy and he's asking like if you can just give in a basic introduction to that in the chat.
So you want me to give an example of OOP?
Yes.
Sure, I could do that. Let's see. Have you all joined the
Kahoot? Yes, they have joined in. I think there are
Okay.
many people.
Okay, I guess I'll do very quickly. There's my thing here. Okay, so you know, in Python you have, you know, you can do a class. So I can say, let's do a class of animal. Let's do dog, and I'll say, okay, let me change this Python language mode. Okay, let's do a class of dog, and I'm gonna have my constructor, which is gonna be, you know, init. So, and then in init, I'm gonna pass self. So this is my constructor. I also wanna pass things into my constructor. So whenever you assign variables, I'm gonna say, okay, I'm gonna have age and stuff like that. And then I'm gonna say, okay, I'm gonna assign whatever my actual classes variables. I'm gonna create a self variable, and I'm gonna say, okay, self.name is equal to name, and I'm gonna say self.age is equal to age. Okay. You know, so that we've got a function and it's our constructor, and it's taking 2 arguments after self. So, you know, these get assigned to self.name and self.age. They're now going to be assigned respectively. I can now create like an object down here, and I can go like, okay, I've got my class. I can say Aussie is, or like Aussie dog is equal to, you know, a dog of Aussie with age of 2. Okay. And like, that's basically, I've created you know, an object, and I've signed that the name, and you know, things like that. That's basically introduction to object-oriented programming. I can then go ahead and I can have functions in here, start doing more things. So like, yeah, there's, I guess, like, so yeah, if you are doing a problem where you are tasked with a large programming problem, for example, inverting a matrix, you might have 10 different functions, and you might want to put that in a class belonging to inverting, and then like a class belonging to something else. Yeah, hope that answers that.
Yes, and let's go on to the Kahoot section and let's play it. And I think it will be very fun for everyone.
Cool. So yeah, we've got people in. Let's go ahead and I guess we'll start. Let me quickly explain how it works. So it's gonna come up very fast. It's gonna give you the questions on screen, and then on your device, where you've loaded this page, where you've joined it yourself, you then have to click the buttons. The buttons, you won't be able to see the answers on your buttons. You'll have to look at the stream. This video that you see my screen, you'll have to see, okay, it will say set, list, array, dictionary. You have to choose it on your screen. Okay, so click that on there. Hope that makes sense. We're gonna go ahead, we'll click start. Have fun. It's about learning. Don't worry about any lag and everything. Just try your best and have fun. Cool. So here's our quiz. Let's make it full screen. So first question is, what data structure uses key and value pairs? So is it triangle for Q? Is it diamond for dictionary? Is it circle for list? Or is it square for tuple? Click the corresponding button. Let's I guess we can play music here.
Yes, it will be fun if you can unmute the tab and music will play. Yes, keep the volume of that thing very low.
Let's do that then. I guess I don't have. Oh wait. Is that the music? Wow.
I I can't hear anything. Yes, yes, it is audible. Yes,
What is this sound?
this is a very serious sound. I don't know why.
This is weird. Am I playing something in the background? But it's like literally this tab. Look. Wow. Hey, one more person needs to answer. Woo! All of you are learning. So, key value pairs. Okay. Key value pairs. Let me define a word. Define potato. Okay. So defining potato, this is our key and this is our value. Okay, that's essentially what a dictionary is. Okay, so whenever you think of a dictionary, you remember that, okay, I need to define words and then, you know, I'll see what it is. Okay, so that's dictionary. Don't worry if you didn't get it right. Remember this and, you know, you try learn from it. This one of the best ways to learn is to test yourself. So we've got Kingsman, BK, Bill Gats, Mansi Malat, Good Boy, and Leaderboard on the scoreboard. Haha. There you go. Okay, next question. What data structure would you use if you needed unique items only? Okay. And think about the question. Yes, technically, you might argue it's one of these answers, but where we're talking in terms of specifically by definition, this is what it is. Okay. Okay, so is it a set for triangle? Is it diamond, dictionary? Is it circle, tuple, or is it square for list? This music gets me every time. What is this?
This is a very weird music. I can agree with that.
They've made upgrades.
Everything is changing, Scribbler has changed a lot, and in this Kahoot is acting seriously. Everything
Uh-huh.
I see nowadays is changing. Dude.
Do we need to cut off the time? But is it 10 strictly we cut off, or do we continue?
I don't know. I don't think so. One person is just missing every time. I think he went AFK.
Yeah,
No, we have 20 answers now.
I'm just gonna wait 5 seconds. Yeah. Cool. Okay. Nice. So yeah, set. One person got dictionary. So dictionary, you could argue yes, you can only have one. You know, one key, one kind of key, but like by definition, we're talking like you can only have like one of each of these things in the set. So yeah, it's not a list and it's not a tuple. You can have duplicates. So for example, you could iterate over a list and you can see, okay, which item has been duplicated in that list or tuple. Cool. So, we skipped 3 years. And we've got Kingsman. Everyone still seems to be getting everything right so far. That's good. Next, which type is immutable? Okay. Remember this. Is it a tuple or is it a list? Lists or tuples? Are they immutable? Okay. I said this a lot today, okay. So I hope you all remember this. And I can give you a clue. The one which is immutable iterates faster normally, comparatively. And they consume less memory compared to the other counterpart. And they don't have as many built-in methods. Okay, I'm gonna skip when we get to 20 to save time. Okay, we've got 21. Tuple is the correct answer. Well, very good, everyone, very good. Yeah, lists are mutable. Tuples
Why?
are.
I think they misclicked on the list. I don't know.
Yeah. Don't worry, everyone. It's a learning experience. Oof. This is like, I can imagine everyone being so tense and like clicking. And this music is like, which consumes more memory? It's again, it's okay, tuple list. I guess these are a bit like weird questions, but I didn't know what to ask really. So yeah, which consumes more memory, a list or a tuple?
I think people are answering this very quickly and
Guessing it, perhaps, maybe. Okay, we've got 21 answers, 22. I'm gonna skip. yes, less consume more memory. That seemed to trick everyone up. It was a 50-50 split pretty much. If we want to be, more accurate. Yeah, we
I
would say
think,
like,
when asking the questions, you said tuple. I think that confused many of us. They were just listening to you and then just clicked on the one that said tuple.
did I say tuple?
Yes, at the very last, you just like emphasized on it. I think that confused a lot.
Ah, mind games, mind games. Yeah, so yeah, lists whilst they are mutable, they consume more memory. So it's not always better to use the mutable type. It's sometimes better to use the immutable type. Why can't they just be one type? Why can't it just be one thing? That's we got some overtaking happening. 3 people lost their answer streak. Last question. How do you add orange to the set, this set? Oh, technically, the answer. Imagine there's a bracket here. Sorry, there's a mistake. Imagine there's a bracket here. Technically. Oh, it is. How did I miss a bracket? Imagine there's a bracket here.
Usually, you're literally going to do that. Inspect element.
Yo, you can't blame me now. This is what happens when
Many of them answered before you did that, so they will blame you.
Yes, that's my fault. I'm sorry, everyone. This is what
Don't
happens
worry
when
about
coders go on Kahoot. They just.
syntax error. This variable is not defined.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Skip. Thank you. So at least 18 people can't blame me. Okay. Oh, it is. So yeah. So the correct answer is indeed this with a bracket on the end. So yeah. Okay. Cool. So I hope that makes sense. Yeah, it's just not capital A, it's lowercase. Yeah, so sets, remember you have like one, you can only have one of each. You can do operations, remember finite state automators, finite state machines, stuff like that. We have top 3 getting 5 out of 5. So you don't win anything, but you win the happiness of winning the quiz. I don't know if Ganesh has arranged or any prizes, so reach out to him if there are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm at the fifth point. I'm at the fifth point. I should also receive some gifts.
Yeah. So if you
uh,
wanna see, we got Bill Gates, Bill Gates here, Divya, Amit, KZR, and Kinsman. So you all got 5 out of 5. I'm happy with this this outcome. So it seems like you all learned something, or you just already knew this. I guess I went beyond what I was expecting to do, but yeah, yeah, it's fun. You get used to these things. If you do want to reach out to me, you can go ahead and reach out to me. Oh, oof, it's the wrong screen. You can reach out to me on social media at SalmanMKC. I'm also doing. Can I mention it, Ganesh? The interview
yes,
preparation
mention
thingy.
whatever you have to do. Yes, no problem.
Cool, thanks. So I'm doing this video tips for internships. So it's gonna be on my YouTube channel at youtube.com/SalmanMKC. And there I'll be covering how to actually, craft your resume, how to go through interviews. It will be free. It's just on YouTube, so go ahead, subscribe there. And I'll see you, in the next episode. So yeah, it's this, and like I'll be doing stuff there. So yeah, thank you very much. Go ahead, reach out to me if you have any questions. I'm open there as well on Twitter and LinkedIn as well at Salman and Casey or Salman Chishti. Cool. Thank you very much.
Someone is saying in the chat that bracket took away my position.
No way.
It's all your work.
I'm sorry.
And then KZR, the second position person is saying that thank you very much for that informative session. Pratish is also saying thank you, sir. So I think they learned a lot from you, and they will be, very happy to see you if you want to, have another session with them. Thank you
Well,
so
thank you so
much for
much.
being here.
Been a pleasure to
Uh,
be here. So thank you so much, Ganesh, for organizing this, and thank you, ma'am, as well for the great introduction, and everyone for having me.
Okay,
uh,
thank you so much, Mr. Salman, for the very informative session. I hope everyone enjoyed it, as well as everyone enjoyed the Kahoot quiz. And thank you on behalf of Computer Engineering and the Vidyavardhini College of Engineering and Technology. Thank you so much, sir. Now, student, tomorrow you will having the session on the algorithm at 1:30. So we'll send the link on the Telegram group. Thank you so much.
and
Thank you so
tomorrow
much
there
for
will be a
the
person.
Ganesh and his team
Yes,
for the organizing
there
the.
will be. Yes, yes, yes. I'm trying to say something.
Yeah,
Tomorrow, the
okay.
person who will be talking is Ali Mustafa Sheikh. I guess all of you here, who are watching the stream, you already know him. He has already done a session at your college, and you know, I'm pretty sure he's gonna rock it. So if you want to learn something, be there. Okay. Uh, bye. I guess I'll just end this. Bye 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 bye. Uh, do you want to say anything, Salman? Final word before I end this.
No, thank you very much for having me, and yeah, keep learning, everyone. Just try, experiment, and yeah, just don't give up.
Okay. Bye. I'll click this